For so many families living with autism spectrum disorder, the daily routine can be, well, it can be a huge source of stress. But what if the key to easing some of those challenges wasn't some new pill or complex therapy, but something as simple as light? So could a specific kind of light really be the key to better sleep, better behavior, and just less stress for the whole family? That's the big question we're diving into today. We're going to look at a brand new study that explores this idea, and trust me, what they found is pretty remarkable. Okay, but before we get into the cool science, we really need to get a handle on the problem they're trying to solve here. For so many families, it's this relentless cycle of challenges all feeding into each other. And you know where it almost always starts? With sleep. And I mean, just look at this number. Up to 80%, 80, of children with autism spectrum disorder have significant problems with sleep. Compare that to neurotypical kids, where it's more like 20 to 30%. So we're not talking about a small issue here. This is a massive foundational problem that really ends up affecting everything else in their day. And this is where you get what's basically a parental double bind. Think about it. You're trying to help your child with their behavioral challenges, which, by the way, get so much worse when they haven't slept well. But at the same time, you're dealing with your own complete and utter exhaustion because you've been up all night too. It's this vicious feedback loop, and it is so hard to break out of.
So, the big question is, how do you break that cycle? Well, this new study looks at a pretty fascinating way to do it. It's an intervention with a kind of science-y name, but the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. All right, here's the big word: photobiomodulation, PBM for short. All it really means is using very specific wavelengths of light to kind of wake up your cells and help them work better. The best way to think about it is like giving your cells a targeted energy boost, almost like a little battery charger.
Now, how they did it in this study was really interesting. The families used this flexible little device at home twice a day. And here's the twist. They didn't just apply the light to the head, which you might expect. They also applied it to the abdomen, the stomach. And that second spot, well, it turns out to be absolutely crucial to the whole thing. And I know what you're thinking. The head, okay, that makes some sense. But the stomach? How on earth could shining a light on someone's belly affect their brain and how they behave? Well, the answer is all about this incredible communication superhighway that we all have inside of us. It all comes down to something you've probably heard about, the gut-brain connection. This is a huge area of research right now, and for very good reason. Yes, scientists call it the gut-brain axis, and it's basically a nonstop, two-way conversation between all the little microbes living in your gut and your brain. And when things get out of balance in the gut, what's called dysbiosis, it can create inflammation. And that inflammation can travel right up that highway and directly impact the brain. So here's the theory the researchers were working with, step by step. Step 1, the light therapy on the abdomen helps get the gut microbiome back in balance. Step 2, a healthier, more balanced gut means less inflammation traveling up to the brain. Step 3, less inflammation in the brain leads to better, deeper sleep. And step 4, the final piece of the puzzle, better sleep leads to big improvements in behavior. Make sense, right? Okay, so that's the hypothesis. It's a neat little chain of events. But did it actually play out in the real world? Let's get to the good stuff and see what the numbers have to say. All right, first up, the big one. A major drop in what's called non-compliant behavior. They measured this using a standard questionnaire, the Home Situation Questionnaire for ASD. And just look at this chart. The scores before the therapy and after. The drop is just, wow, it's dramatic. And we're not talking about a small change. The average reduction was almost 33 points by the end of the follow-up period. Now, that might just sound like a number, but in terms of day-to-day life for these families, a 33-point drop is absolutely massive. It's a really meaningful change. So what does that actually look like in real life? Well, the questionnaire breaks it down into two main areas. The first is social inflexibility, challenges with social stuff and being really rigid with routines. That score dropped by about 16 points. The other part is demand-specific non-compliance. That's the oppositional behavior you might see in response to simple requests, like, hey, it's time for dinner. That score dropped by a whopping 17 points. And hey, remember that whole stress cycle for the parents we talked about at the beginning? Well, they measured that too. And guess what? Using something called the Autism Parenting Stress Index, they found that just like the kids' behavior scores went down, so did the parents' stress levels, big time. The average drop in parent-reported stress was 13.5 points. This is so important because it shows the therapy wasn't just helping the child in a vacuum. It was having this incredible ripple effect, improving life for the entire family. And all of this brings us right back to where we started, sleep. Because maybe the most stunning finding of all was this quote from the study's analysis. Practically none of the children had sleep problems at the end. Just gone. This is huge, because it really backs up the whole idea that better sleep was the engine driving all these other incredible changes.
Okay, so these results are clearly impressive. But to really understand just how groundbreaking they are, you have to put them in context. You have to see how they stack up against earlier studies.
And this is where it gets really wild. Let's compare. A big previous study saw a behavior score drop of, wait for it, 0.37 points, and that was over 6 months. This new study, it got a drop of over 2 points in just 1 month. And parental stress, the old study found basically no change. This new one, a massive 16-point drop. I mean, the difference isn't just big, it's staggering. It's a whole different ballgame.
So you gotta ask, what made the difference? Why were these results so much better? Well, it looks like a few key things. First, they used a much, much higher dose of light energy. Second, they did it twice a day, every day. Third, and this is a big one, they targeted both the head and the abdomen. And finally, the device itself was simple to use at home, so it just became part of the family's regular bedtime routine.
So look, more research is always a good thing, of course, but this study makes a really compelling case. It suggests that by tapping into that deep, deep connection between our gut, our brain, and our sleep, we might have found a powerful, non-invasive new tool to really improve family well-being. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it?